The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it? Clobbering time!
I am the face that runs the place.
You need Roman to be out of the main title picture for a little while. You give him a break. This is the only way you're possibly going to get the crowd to do anything but boo him, is give him a break.
I'm the greatest wrestler in the world.
It was exciting to see because it kind of reminded me of Reading Rainbow a little bit.
All they needed was LeVar Burton to come in there.
This would have definitely got a 5-star pay-per-view for me.
Show of the year.
Yeah, show of the year.
When my story is being told and my time is up, did I do enough? And the answer right now is no. Not yet. Adam Cole, you don't know what this feels like. You don't know what this feels like. But one day, you'll realize that you're running out of tomorrows. You'll look at the sands in your hourglass and realize there aren't a lot left. And one day, that'll be your future. But Adam, right now, that's my present, and it scares me. It terrifies me because I've come so far and I've sacrificed so much, and I can't imagine never holding what I haven't held. And you're a human being. You have a mother that loves you. You have a family that cares about you, that depend on you, and it doesn't matter to me because I'd sacrifice you like that if it meant they would hand me the Ring of Honor World Championship. And I wouldn't even wipe your blood off my hands first.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
Welcome everyone to Wrestling to the Max, episode 237, part 1. And boy, do we have an interesting show ahead of us, guys. We have a show full of different movements of different wrestler talent all around the globe, moving different places, different promotions. And boy, there's a lot of them, trust me. So you're going to get a chance to hear a lot of new names, old familiar names, just in different places. And I'm kind of excited about talking about that, along with the other few good news topics we'll be jumping into. Plus, we want to let you guys know we'll be talking Ring of Honor tonight. That's right. Every Monday we do that. We'll talk about the TV taping, but we're also going to be talking about a preview to the 15th anniversary show for Ring of Honor. So that's going to be exciting. We can't wait to kind of break down the card and kind of give you our opinions on what we feel like is going to happen at that show. Also, we're going to give you some interesting things when it comes to the Observer Awards. That's right. They came out. So we're going to kind of talk about who they picked and what, and maybe if we agreed or disagree with some of the Observer Awards. So we're going to, just have a lot of fun tonight. I'm looking forward to this show. Of course, I just want to let everybody know if you want to find all of our content, make sure you go check out W2Mnet.com. And also, hey, if you want to go find us on your device of choice and whatever you use, maybe you use iTunes, make sure you don't forget to go and subscribe to either Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network, where you can get just more than our show, a lot of other great content along with it. But of course, I'm your host, Gary Vaughan, and along with me is Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And back and healthy again, Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
Man, Paul, it's so good to have you back and not sicker than sick. You had a tough time last week. Just good to have you back, buddy. And so it's going to be a lot of fun now, finally getting a chance to talk about a lot of this big news with you, man. So.
Yeah, just don't get two diseases at the same time. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Hard enough with one. Don't get two.
Don't get two.
That's a tough battle to fight, So, oh man, but yeah, I'm glad we're all together tonight, and we're gonna have a great time talking wrestling. And there's a lot going on, so we're not gonna delay a lot tonight. We're just gonna jump into this thing head first, and we're gonna be getting into some quick hits, and then of course later on we'll talk Observer Awards. So let's go ahead and do it now. Let's talk quick hits.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
Alrighty.
All right, let's do this. Okay, well, let's start out by talking about the WWE Hall of Fame. And the newest inductee will be Rick Rude. And, of course, if you watched Monday Night Raw, you saw them do a pretty awesome video package for him. And, like they do for everyone. But this one was super interesting and neat because, of course, what do they focus on most? That's his body and all that. So I think it was a pretty fun package to watch for a Hall of Famer. But, I mean, look at this shot. Sean, I mean, how do you feel about this? I mean, Rick Rude's finally getting his shot.
Finally, yeah. It's just great to get to see him being here. Stalwart of WWE, part of DX, was in, he was in WCW for a time in one hell of a faction. New Japan shots, was in G1 Final. I mean, the dude did it all, and it's crazy that it's taken him this long to put him in. But like Tom noted in our chat, sometimes it has to do with the family, right? It's not always about Vince and everything else. But yeah, finally, one of the guys from the 80s and 90s that, man, you're sitting there going, man, how is he not a Hall of Famer yet?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. And a stalwart of the territory days. He worked, World Class and Continental and Crockett and all those good places before. He probably had his most famous run in the WWF and the Intercontinental Championship and all those, and the outlandishly awesome tights that he wore for damn near 4 years. And then his move over to WCW, where he continued to be another top talent. And the dude was just insanely talented, not only in the ring, but he's a great mic worker too. And maybe a progenitor to everything Val Venus and Sable in the 90s wanted to be.
Yeah, that's for certain. I mean, my God, just in that package alone, there was so much gyrating. I was like, man, no wonder that Big E can get away with this today because, Rick Rude did. Mm-hmm. And, he definitely had a great physique. And of course, his, time was, of course, the Tom Selleck time of the mustache. So, I think this guy had the total package for the ladies back in the day, but now I think that was, I'm really curious what women would think today of seeing him. It's kind of funny. Maybe he would be outdated or maybe not. I don't know. But, he had the physique to make the ladies happy, I think. So
forgetting about the mullet, too, man. Like that gloriously fluffy mullet that he...
When you think of mullets, that's all I ever... That's who comes to my mind first.
Yeah, top 5 right there.
Exactly. Eugene from The Walking Dead has nothing on
between Rock and Roll Express and Rick Rude, man, it's the Hall of Fame of mullets.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing this year. I can't wait. It's a mullet time, baby, in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, no, this is great. It's kind of funny, but honestly, this is well deserved, and it's about time. And Sean just pointed it out. Not always just about the talent themselves. It's sometimes has to do with family, and for the reasons maybe we don't get a chance to see is the reason why he's just now getting in. But at least he's getting in, and this was great about it. And I'm hoping we'll get some of those other former talents in the 80s and 70s that have still yet to get in. We'll finally get in now. So. But, I promised everyone a lot of news when it came to not just Hall of Fame, but for really movements around the wrestling world, okay? And trust me, you would think it was, the free agency had just opened up this past week. And in a way, maybe it did. I don't know. But let's start by talking about Ring of Honor, because they've had some interesting things take place with them. And one of those things is the fact that some of the biggest free agents on the market right now are the Hardy Boyz. And they signed a deal with the Ring of Honor. And, there's still speculation on the time period of this contract from what I'm hearing. Some people are saying it's a short-term contract. Some even rumoring that before WrestleMania even, begins, the contract will be over. Or maybe it's a longer deal than we know, and there's more dates signed out. We do know there's dates signed out even past WrestleMania that have already been signed before that had nothing to do with Ring of Honor. So we'll see about that. And of course, we do know that, Ring of Honor also has Bubba Ray inked in too, because he, of course, attacked, Madam Cole after he won his championship over at Manhattan Mayhem. So it seems like, Ring of Honor's taking on some big talent here. Like I said, we don't know about the Hardy situation completely, Paul, but how do you feel about these names being linked to Ring of Honor?
I think the interesting thing is if the Hardys have indeed signed long-term with Ring of Honor, I would have to think it was because whatever WWE was trying to get them to do was not what they wanted to do. So they just took their ball and went to Ring of Honor, and we're going to work there and keep doing everything else that they're going to do across the independents. Another big thing that's been reported too is that they have creative control in Ring of Honor when it comes to the gimmick and everything like that. So good on them there. They won the tag titles at Manhattan Mayhem too, which is important because that's thrown their pay-per-view this Friday into some questions and all that good stuff. Bully Ray, I think is cool. I have no idea what they're going to do with him, but he's not going to be around for a cup of coffee either. He's going to be there for a while. So just have to wait and see, I guess, what they're going to do with him. I'm excited. I should mention that. Like, these are big names. It's a big deal, and they're on the older side, but geez, I don't know if they've ever had anybody this big sign with them long term.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is a big deal because think of what we've been talking about as of late is Ring of Honor. They're losing this person, this person, and this person. And it's been a leak of their biggest talent leaving, right? Besides Adam Cole and, of course, Bobby Fish, you've got other guys that have left and kind of left them in a situation where they've kind of had to find new talent and they're trying to have to grow talent, And with the addition of maybe these guys are older, they're at least going to be able to add, instant credibility to Ring of Honor and add, let's be honest, also a drawing power that, some of these young guys are not able to do right now. I don't know, Sean, how do you feel about this all working out for the Hardy Boyz over there in Ring of Honor?
I'm sorry, gotta take a kid is awake.
Oh, okay.
So
if you need a second,
what this is about here.
Okay, just let us know when you can be available if you got to do something like that.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry.
No problem. What's going on? To me personally, it's good. It's a positive thing, Paul. And I think the Ring of Honor, like I said, they have to come up with new things. And with the Hardy Boyz getting creative control, to me, that speaks out that we're going to get some of that fun stuff maybe again. The one thing that we have to question, though, Paul, is it going to be Broken Matt Hardy? Do we know that? Because, there's going to be some problems with Impact, I think. I think Impact Wrestling is going to be fighting over that trademark that we saw Matt Hardy sign for recently and try to achieve. Do you think there's going to be any issues with that?
See, TNA claims that they own the gimmick when I think it's pretty clear that they don't, because I don't think they would have let the Hardys go around doing what they were doing if they owned the gimmick, right? Mm-hmm. And even if they did, once it started hitting, why wouldn't you have filed for the trademark sooner if it was yours? So I think it's just them trying to be vindictive and make sure the Hardys don't help anybody else at this point, sort of like what AAA's been trying to do with Pentagon and Phoenix and all that. So a bit of a move below the belt, but I don't see TNA winning this one.
Yeah, here's the biggest question I think for you is the fact that do you think that's going to be effective immediately, where they're going to come in and be broken and Matt Hardy and Brother Nero, or do you think they're going to have to kind of just call themselves Matt and Jeff until this is all cleared up?
I don't know how exactly they were announced when it came to Manhattan Mayhem, but they were in the full regalia and the gear and everything that they had been wearing as far as their broken gimmicks go. So for them, they're ready to keep on moving ahead with the gimmick. I don't know if TNA is going to start getting all, start throwing out lawsuits and all sorts of stuff against Ring of Honor and the Hardys for infringement or whatever.
Well, let's just take this to run with it then. Do you think that with them having creative control that they're going to be able to bring in Rebby, and all the rest of this cast of characters?
I mean, that seems to be part of it, right? If you have full creative control, then, I don't see why you wouldn't have been able to bring in everybody else that you had with the gimmick in TNA. I think if TNA is serious about going after them, though, you have to wonder how much of it they're going to do at first, or if they're just going to say, you know what, screw it. We're not scared of TNA and Anthem's money. You do have to wonder if Sinclair wants to deal with that, though, because, even though you got two big, powerful companies going against each other, how much is it worth to them to have to get into a lawsuit, though?
On the flip side of that, the video package that they aired before Final Battle, where you had the Hardys actually challenge the Young Bucks after they retained the tag titles, apparently, according to the Joe Koff, the guy who's sort of in charge of Ring of Honor when it comes to Sinclair's side, they weren't going to run the package until they got TNA's permission, just to make sure it was clear, even though they had the Hardys. So that could be some muck as far as who exactly does own the gimmick. Food for thought.
I don't know about it's a gimmick. I think it's more about it's the Hardys were still TNA characters. Like the Hardys were still TNA property. So they had to make sure that before they aired and allowed letting fans know that there's some kind of TNA and ROH crossover, that it was okay, because it kind of came down to the last minute if they were going to let them do it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, however they're going to do it, I think no matter what, if it's complete creative control for the Hardys, and we can get past all that other stuff, I think it's going to be excellent. I mean, I think this is going to be something that's going to make Ring of Honor just great and really exciting. I'm really kind of curious production-wise, too, how Ring of Honor is going to handle this, because their style of production is very different than what Impact has. So that's another thing that really intrigues me. It's a little bit, I'm not going to say on the shaky side, but it's a little bit more on the B movie side.
Well, I wonder if the Hardys will pay for that,
That's a good question. Ring of Honor does tend to go with the more realistic and sporty presentation of wrestling. So bringing in the Hardys like this, I don't know exactly how much of that you're going to get either. But they've done Vanguard 1 at least a little, so I don't think they're really going to sail the boat completely. You might not get the over-the-top, Hardy compound stuff, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're right. I mean, it's still just going to be entertaining, right? I mean, I don't think we can... I think all three of us could agree. It's going to be entertaining no matter what.
I think it's going to be entertaining, but again, like you saw with TNA, you started getting diminishing returns. I mean, so I do think you have to put this into moderation. You can't build the show around Hardy backstage segments like you did with TNA, because eventually it's going to run its course, and all you're going to be left with is... oh, okay, well, we're going to see him in a tag match, and then, that eventually, again, you're going to get to the point where how big of a draw is this going to be, and how much is it going to get to the point where it becomes like just, okay, well, it's the Hardys again, and, you know, I think it may almost be more like we're interested in the single stuff that they might do with each one of them or whatever, you know. And it's interesting to think that apparently, you know, Jeff Jarrett is back to his old ways of he wanted Jeff but not Matt. He didn't care for the broken gimmick. It's funny, you didn't care for the broken gimmick at all. You didn't really want Matt Hardy, so why are you fighting for the broken gimmick at all? You know, this seems like a total WWE move of, well, we're just going to be dicks and get it because we can, not because we really care.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of what AAA is doing with Phoenix and Pentagon is what I was liking it too. But I think you're completely right. I think they're just trying to be vindictive.
I mean, I know y'all talked about this already, but, like, you know, some of these TNA things, it's just like, so we replaced a bunch of old guys with more old guys?
Yeah, well, we hadn't actually talked about it yet, and we talked about Ring of Honor, but I thank you for that, though, Sean. I mean, because we need to jump into that, because now, you know, with the Hardys jumping over to Ring of Honor, now you've got that empty spot, and we just mentioned old guys going to Ring of Honor. Now you're talking about old guys like Magnus popping back over to Impact. You're getting Matt Morgan. You're also getting some other guys like Alberto El Patron. Plenty of other people. I mean, there's a whole laundry list of people.
I mean, there is other younger guys or people that we don't really know that much, but, you know.
Like Homicide.
Apparently they have now changed the result that they decided to do at the tapings with Patron or whatever, but it's just like, still, like, what message does that send to your dwindling audience that, okay, well, we replaced a bunch of ex-WWE names with some old TNA, okay, they're not old. Magnus and Matt Morgan are not old as in age, but TNA guys that didn't quite really work out, and then Patron, who's been everywhere, and granted, when he goes everywhere but WWE, he shows fire, and he shows like he cares, and I wonder if, you know, he did this thinking that maybe Paige will get out of her thing with WWE, and she'll wind up in TNA as a knockout, which that actually could wind up helping TNA if that happens, because they definitely need some infusion of new talent, not bringing back old. Look, you know, Brooke is fine, but it's the total, like, okay, don't really care, you know. Angelina Love is fine, but it's like, again, like, okay, whatever. I'm more excited about the Garza Juniors and the Rachel Ellerings and some of the, you know, the lesser known talent that could do something for TNA, and TNA could make them into talent you want to watch instead of the ones that we pretty much know what they're going to do.
Yeah. I think the most interesting thing about all this is how there's a lot of new faces in here, like a Laredo kid who wrestles a lot here in Texas and around the South, and has started venturing north some too. And he's a great talent. Caleb Conley, who is familiar with those who watch Evolve and all that, who's under the hood now as the new Suicide. But you have a lot of GFW names in here too. Reno Scum is a tag team that Jared booked a lot. Magnus obviously was their champion. Chris Masters was also part of all that stuff too. So there's a lot of interesting bleed and crossover stuff going on here. And I mean, they got ODB back as far as knockouts go. They signed a couple more of them. They have a new LAX running around now. Like, there's a lot of new face. There's enough new here. I think if you're willing to watch TNA again in the coming weeks, that you could find some new faces that you take a liking to. But the booking so far still seems old hat. Like, it's still same old TNA as far as what I've read. And it could come off completely different, obviously. But I'm with you on the Patron winning the title and whether they reneged on that or not. Like that is a classic TNA playbook move of, well, we have all these other guys, but this guy was huge in everywhere, so he gets the belt.
Patron signs the next day. Your new TNA World Champion. Or, well, excuse me, Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, I should say they signed the guy and then immediately give him the belt instead of making him work for it, like they did with Christian.
Yeah.
Or Christian they made work for. Kurt Angle, they just sort of leapt onto it. Here's the belt.
Hot potato, catch it.
It's, you know, I do think, though, this is an important time for... I'm sorry, I know we've probably said TNA 20 times. They're technically no longer being called TNA, but Impact Wrestling have like 2 weeks here to grab people. If they don't, I think you're kind of in the you're in that zone of, are people going to care no matter what you do?
Mm-hmm.
And the best part is the rumors circulating of Jeff Jarrett going into a meeting with Spike TV, and Spike TV vehemently coming out and going, "We are not negotiating with Impact Wrestling." Just letting you know that. Like, damn.
Oh, man. Yeah. It was probably Karen Jarrett trying to get some kind of contract.
And then Karen Jarrett's going to be back on TV again? Oh, my God. Can't wait to rail on that every time I see her.
Yep. Yep. You thought you got rid of something like that, but, you got rid of Dixie, but you didn't get rid of Karen.
No, Dixie was about a million times better than Karen Jarrett, for God's sakes.
I do not know, but there were some of those Dixie segments where you just shook your head like, oh my, what is happening?
Well, when does Karen Jarrett give anything to the, other than when she's talking about her husband?
Rotten apples versus rotten oranges is what we're talking about.
How about that new logo that looks like the old logo, except for now it just has Anthem at the bottom, as if people are really supposed to know who they are.
Yeah. Impact. Anthem. Yeah, okay. I think you're right about that. And I think, I get it. Anthem wants to have their name on it, but just let them be Impact, I
felt like it was more of a hanging up a under new ownership sign underneath your store, essentially.
Basically.
Yeah. They want you to know it's
kind of
not
like
the same.
WWE, right? Like WWE just happens to have the cool logo, and that is their name, WWE. So it's like you don't think about it as much as, it's sort of their way of saying we're the WWE part to the Impact. To Impact Wrestling is the Raw. To Anthem is the WWE part. And I guess they want you to make that connection or whatever, because you didn't care about having your name out there on anything else before.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And, I don't know. This Impact, situation is going to be very interesting because there's so much change. And I think it's good in a way, but I don't know if the stink completely goes away. I just don't know it does. I mean, they're going to do a lot of new things that will probably make us, think it's new. But I still think some of the old bad things are going to linger around for at least a little while unless they prove me wrong. Like we just got through talking about, they signed a lot of new talent, a lot of old guys, a lot of young people. Heck, there's an older wrestler, but he's an independent wrestler, and Kevin Matthews from New York, New Jersey, and he's joined this roster, and you're just kind of curious. It's taken him a long time to be a part of any big promotion, and how is that going to affect Impact and all? So I don't know. We will see on that, and for the fact that we're also getting maybe some more names, but there's another name that Jack Swagger is out there. Maybe think about him.
He would think that's. I think ROH would be better as far as wrestling goes, the talent he could work with. But for me, it just, if you sort of want to work on your character and, with Dutch Mantel there, who's worked with him before, I think maybe TNA might wind up overall, just outside of the ring and it just as everything included might be better for him.
I guess real quick, what we're referencing, Swagger has asked for his release, but as far as I could tell, looking at the articles and stuff, it has not yet been granted, but it has been put in. So I guess we're just waiting for him. But obviously, I'm sure he's going to have 90 days. If he goes to TNA, I think that's a fine fit for him. If he goes to Ring of Honor, I think that's a fine fit for him. If he does the Cody Rhodes route and decides to tour the world, I think that's fine for him too. I don't think he has that same charisma that's going to draw you to a Cody Rhodes tour, but the other guys outside of Cody are making it work. Drew Galloway, the list goes on.
Basically everybody except Ryback.
Ryback's still getting booked though.
I know, but if he didn't ask for way more money than he should be asking, he probably would get booked in a lot of other cooler places. I mean, I guess. Not that he probably cares about that, but we would see him more.
Doing what he's doing, plus his podcast.
Yeah, I'm just saying, he keeps mentioning that New Japan has offered him this and that all these offers, but he never does it. So he's just wrestling for whatever indie that we're not really seeing him in. And it's man, you'd think you'd want to kind of go out there and but he has said a bunch of times he doesn't want wrestling to be his whole life or whatever. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. We'll see. I mean, there's going to be some interesting things going on here. I mean, I look for Impact to still be looking for new talent. I think Ring of Honor the same. They'll be finding ways, and WWE, of course, will do what they can for what they want. So,
I do think it's interesting with Jarrett of the only hope I have is that maybe, since the X Division was actually something when he was around, that maybe that's going to be something to watch again. And the knockouts were something, even though I think they definitely need their own infusion of talent, I think, before they're going to really be able to turn that corner and maybe be back to where they used to be. But I wonder, how Lashley's going to get affected, and that was one of the things that they were hitting on with the other creative team was Lashley at least, and some other things as well, but it's going to be interesting to see what Jarrett likes and what he doesn't, because he's a particular kind of person,
Exactly. But yeah, we'll continue following that and see, really what does evolve from here. Let's move over, and you mentioned New Japan, Sean. That was a great transition over to talk about Honma, and he has a neck injury, and it's, of course, affecting his C3 and C4 vertebrae. And, I mean, Paul, this looks like it's a pretty serious deal here.
Yeah, somewhere in his match with Jado before the anniversary show this past weekend, he either didn't roll his feet or something went wrong, obviously, and he landed pretty hard on his neck. There was swelling in between there. There's a lot of worry that it was going to affect his circulatory system and all that, but he was conscious the whole time. He's now got feeling and movement in his extremities again. And it's been said both across New Japan and other sources that he has said that he wants to return to the ring and will do so, but it is not a sure thing right now. Obviously, he was due to compete in the New Japan Cup, and now that's no longer the case, so I don't think they've announced his replacement yet either.
Nagata is going to replace him.
Is it Nagata? Okay.
Yeah.
They haven't... obviously, this is going to affect Makabe, who was gearing towards a tag run with him once again, and whenever we do talk about the 45th anniversary, we'll see how that got affected. But this is a big deal. He's not young. He's got death matches under his belt. This may or may not be career ending for him.
Oof.
Ugh. That's terrible. And I mean, I think I even saw tweets from Natty had a tweet about him, and some other,
Mick Foley.
People around the industry. Certainly, this is being discussed everywhere, and it's sad. Because maybe Honma had fallen a little bit from that time where he was the lovable guy that you always wanted to root for or whatever, but he was certainly still somebody that New Japan counted on in that mid card, and it's sad. It's really sad to see it come like this for him. Just hopefully he gets to be back and back to wrestling, but just gotta hope he gets better first.
Yeah, for sure. It's a sad thing when, you see a guy that has so much talent, and a situation like this where he could possibly have to, hang him up and never get back in the ring again. And I hate to hear or see that. So, all our prayers and wishes and thoughts, all that stuff go out to Honma.
Certainly gonna probably have to change his finisher now.
Oh,
yeah. Don't know if he can do Kokeshi anymore.
It's awful. But yeah, we will keep everyone updated on Honma, and we're hoping for better news to report to you guys. Sad situation. And I don't know this last thing I'm going to talk about here, if it's a sad situation or a happy situation or what it is for people, but it's a situation. We've been talking about WrestleMania a lot, and of course it's WrestleMania time and all that, but one of the matches that we were all assuming was going to happen recently was kind of downplayed as not happening. And now we're getting word that, hey, don't say it's not happening, because the negotiations are still going on, and the match I'm talking about is Big Show and Shaquille O'Neal, that match. And Shaquille O'Neal, had come out and said it wasn't done. Big Show said that Shaq decided not to do it, but we're all thinking this is all about money, and it probably is. That's what we're getting here. I don't know, guys. I mean, I don't know if I'm really all that thrilled or sad or indifferent on the Shaq and Big Show actually happens.
The big reason I thought this was worth talking about was that Big Show and Shaq was something that they had on this card for a long time. Like, this is definitely going to happen. It's going to go down, and then suddenly it wasn't, and all these other things. And I just, like, how thrown together is WrestleMania right now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they usually have things inked up, months ahead of time, if not a year ahead of time, right? And that's the deal here. We're still doing this, and we're 27 days away from, or was it shorter, maybe 26 days? I don't even know the exact count, but we're right here. We are technically on the home stretch to WrestleMania, and they still haven't inked the deal. That's not good. Not good at all. And hopefully if they do have this match, it's not indicative of the time span that this is done.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, Sean. I don't know if you even care about that match or not.
I think we have mentioned it before, Gary, that, this is something that I was kind of looking forward to this, because Big Show always does well with these kind of like special matches or whatever. And it seemed like Shaq really wanted to do it, but don't know if it's WWE's people or Shaq's people or somebody. He says it's nothing on his end, so interesting to see if this ever comes out about why exactly it's not happening.
Yeah, Big Show's real worried too, because his contract ends February of next year, and he's not sure if he'll ever have a WrestleMania match that's this featured again. So he's kind of thinking this is his last hurrah. And he wants to work with Shaq very much, so hopefully they can get the deal done.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. Especially for Big Show's sake. Well, that is quick hits for us for this week, or for at least this episode. We still have next Thursday's quick hits we'll be doing, but for at least tonight, that's all the big wrestling news. I'm about to move on, and Sean is going to go through a segment with us, and he's going to lead us on a journey of the Observer Awards. That's right. He's going to kind of help us kind of figure out what happened on those awards, and we're going to talk about and if we like the decisions made or not. But before we jump into that, I just want to let everybody know that, of course, if you did not get a chance to check it out, this past weekend we did a Fastlane review. So if you went and you watched that at show and you didn't know that we did a Fastlane review, we did that. We also did a Raw review as well. So you have both those right there in a nice little package with a bow on. So go check those shows out if you haven't already, just to give you guys a heads up about that. But now, Sean, let's talk about those Observer Awards.
Yeah, I know these Observer Awards, of course, should have been out probably about a month ago, but Dave Meltzer's mom had a stroke, so he's been having to, kind of tend to her and be there for her. And then, of course, there's literally, it's felt like there's been some kind of huge wrestling story going on like every week or something. So he keeps having to cover those, and it pushes down his time. But he didn't even have enough time to write up like blurbs for these things. He kind of just gave you the winner, the list, and then everybody that's won previously. So the Luthez Ric Flair, which is Wrestler of the Year with drawing and all the other little intangibles included, goes to AJ Styles for the second year in a row. It's 300 votes over Mr. Okada, and then 27 votes under that is Naito. So that's your top three for that award. And then you get Omega with at least 1,000 underneath that, and then you get a bunch of different guys there on that. Then you get into the most outstanding, which is basically best, the Wrestler of the Year that we think of, the best wrestler as far as in-ring work. This one was about 120 vote difference between AJ and Kenny Omega, and AJ wins again. So AJ swept both most outstanding and best, Wrestler of the Year for 2 years in a row, and this is the third year in a row that AJ has won Best Wrestler of the Year. So, AJ Styles continuing to have fantastic years in two different companies. Think about that. It's amazing.
That is amazing, and oh man.
He comes from New Japan, has great years, goes to WWE, Wrestler of the Year again. I mean, and think about how, he's doing this in his older years. It's not, younger AJ Styles.
It's the Undertaker effect, if you will. You just, aging like wine. Just get better with time. I mean, he's certainly not as flippy as he used to be. I think he's more consistent. He's just, what more can you say? He was incredible at it. He could not put on a 4-star match last year at a pay-per-view. It was impossible. It's been impossible this year.
Yeah, he just keeps delivering every time. And speaking of delivering, we argued this point between ourselves and the group and everything else, and man, the voters absolutely just ran away with this one. The Young Bucks, once again, Tag Team of the Year by about 1,000, almost 500 points. Or, not points, votes. And it's over Dash and Dawson, and then DIY, another 1,000 difference between them, and then you get Daisuke Sakamoto and Yuji Akabayashi. Another 1,000 sort of difference there, but hey, at least they got fourth. So that's kind of cool. This is the third year in a row that the Young Bucks have won. So,
yeah. The Young Bucks are pretty well deserving. It's hard to go against them. They've done so much. They've won championships. They've had just excellent matches. I think, when you're talking about Dash and Dawson and the Revival, we brag on them a lot on this show. We love them to death. These guys are amazing. But, honestly, it's a hard situation. But in the end, really, you've got, a tag team in the Young Bucks who not only, work hard and over there in New Japan, but they'll have great matches all over the world and even in Ring of Honor. So, they got a little bit more of an advantage, I think, in that sense compared to maybe what the Revival do. But still, I think it's a well-deserved award.
Yeah, excuse me. We debated about this too. For me, I think, the Revival, they just next level performers on big stages every time. Not to say the Young Bucks aren't either, but for the Revival to do it with such a different and almost throwback style to continue to do what they do and get an insane amount of love for it is truly incredible. I mean, and first 2-time NXT Tag Team Champions. Take that.
Yeah, I think, the argument can be made. It's about where you do it. The top guys doing it at the top level, but it still is, WWE's developmental, whereas, Young Bucks are doing this at Wrestle Kingdoms and big events for New Japan and big events for ROH, and then going to PWG and doing it, and then going to your local indie. And I think that's sort of what's always going to kind of set the Young Bucks apart, is Dash and Dawson are doing it in one setting, Young Bucks are doing it in multiple settings.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right on that. And I think part of it does have with quantity too. I mean, both these tag teams put quality matches together, but I think a lot of this is quantity as well. I mean, it's the same reason we had debates on Tom Brady and Matt Ryan for MVP last year, right? Because Tom Brady missed 4 games. Maybe both of them did deserve it, but one guy won because he got more reps. And I think the same way with the Young Bucks. They got more reps. They get a lot more attention at times than, let's be honest, the Revival do. Kind of why they're in the position. When the Revival may move up to the main roster, they are going to have a chance to compete even stronger for this.
Yeah, that's very true. So, going on to most improved, I'll say that most improved is not Rookie of the Year. So, Matt Riddle, you can argue the fact of whether or not Matt Riddle should be on here or not, but he wins. The one that makes me laugh is that The Miz is 6 votes behind Matt Riddle. And, The Miz has been on this thing since like 2009. I mean, how many times can you improve? At some point, you top off on the improving part, right? Like, at some point, you're just The Miz and you're great. Yeah, that makes me laugh. Juice Robinson, who's right behind him, definitely deserves to be there. He should have been there before The Miz, and you get Alexa Bliss, 300 votes behind Juice Robinson. But it's just... The Miz being on there that many times makes me laugh. The Miz won 2 years in a row, 2009, 2010, and then he's been on the list every year since then. It's like, why?
I mean, maybe it's a good thing you don't have a ceiling. I don't know.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean, the one to me is Juice Robinson. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised. He wasn't, the guy in this, but I mean, I understand, maybe the Riddle situation, but The Miz is just kind of funny. I didn't know he was on that many times.
Yeah, I mean, Juice has been great last year, but I mean, Matt Riddle, who came into wrestling just pretty much with an MMA background in amateur wrestling. And, not since Kurt Angle have I seen somebody take to pro wrestling and get this good this quickly. It is insane how incredible he has gotten in such a short period of time.
Oh, yeah. I think definitely you can't really argue with starting from no wrestling experience to how great he is. That's a very short list. And to do it in that 1 year is absolutely amazing. So, for me, I can't argue that at all. Promotion of the year is New Japan. We had New Japan as well on ours, so I don't think you can argue there. I think it is kind of interesting that WWE is third when so many other years people have tried to say WWE wasn't even there, but it's. Yeah, I mean, he counts UFC together with this, so I don't talk about that here. But yeah, New Japan by 4,000 votes, and WWE barely almost got 1,000. So obviously, people loving them some New Japan, and of course, since 2012, New Japan has won this every year. So It seems spot on from the resurgence of New Japan that for them to win every year after that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I mean that 2012 is that first big year, pretty much, of the resurgence, and they're here now. And you look at them, and it's hard to, it's not hard to wonder why everybody loves them so much whenever you watch the show.
Oh yeah, every time they got a show, what are we talking about? How great this match was, how great that match was. It's when you don't have anything else to say but how great this was, it's gonna probably lead to best promotion of the year almost every time. Speaking of match of the year, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Okada from Tokyo Dome and Omega and Naito from G1. There's a 120-point difference, 2,568 and 2,451. And then there's a huge drop-off to 854 for Okada and Ishii. So, tells you how much people enjoyed those two matches there, and I can't really argue with them.
Yeah, I mean, how do you pick one 5-star occasion over the other? I mean, you just try. That's all you can do.
Yeah, it's tough, and I think both qualify at a high level, but you just gotta kind of do the any, mini, miny, mo kind of thing. So,
David Otunga won worst wrestling announcer over Matt Stryker.
Oh yeah,
Matt Stryker, he works in that area though. Like in Lucha, he's fine. I mean, it's when you take him elsewhere, he's kind of crappy.
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of taking it elsewhere. That's the problem.
I mean, but you listen to Otunga every Friday. It ain't hard to understand why he's crap.
He's terrible.
Oh,
I wanted to throw that in there so he could laugh.
Yeah.
But,
Friday, Tuesday. I'm living in the past.
Yeah. You traveled back in time. It's okay. It's all right.
And Dario Cueto barely beat Daniel Bryan for best non-wrestler, about 100 votes. But can't ever argue with Dario. I saw him in another commercial this week. I think it was for DirecTV Now. He's in that commercial too.
Making money. That way he can pay off more fighters.
Yep. Holla holla.
Right? Yeah. Tokyo Dome, Wrestle Kingdom won Best Show of the Year. WrestleMania 32 won Worst Show of the Year.
Wow.
Over TNA's Bound for Glory. Damn.
Wow.
I don't remember WrestleMania. I mean, WrestleMania 32 was bad, but I don't remember being like Worst Show of the Year territory. But
yeah.
Damn.
I know. I guess I just don't remember Bound for Glory that well. I didn't think it was that awful. Jeez.
I remember Bound for Glory being pretty bad too.
I remember it being bad. I don't remember the card, no, which is why I'm looking it up.
Shelly Martinez and Revel was your worst match of the year, with Jericho and Ambrose in that cage, whatever the hell that match was.
Oh yeah.
Being in second. Titus O'Neil and Darren Young, worst feud of the year. Second is Yoshitatsu and Bone Soldier. Oh, I can totally agree on that. Yoshitatsu and Bone Soldier was the most. Why is this here? Feud of
the only
year.
reason it took second is because they weren't in your face with how bad that story was.
Exactly. Like Darren Young and Titus was. Worst promotion, TNA Impact Wrestling. By a mile. Well, I can't argue there. I'm sorry, TNA.
Yeah. Yep, that's why they lost the letters TNA.
True.
There was many times where there was no total non-stop action happening.
Yeah, exactly.
On that show. And hey, Matt Hardy won Best Gimmick. So
You can't argue against that. He was, he kind of won our award for that in a way too, Best Entertainer. And that's, I mean, it's a solid gold still. So, I mean, can't give him any qualms about that one.
Yeah, I'll stop there. But go ahead.
Anybody who can give you a reason to watch Impact every week is certainly deserving of some sort of award.
God. Wow.
Yeah, so let's see who can do that next. Will it be Magnus? Will it be Matt Morgan?
It's not going to be Magnus, I'll tell you that much.
Brandy
I'm still saying, like, that's got to tell you something about Magnus, that Mickie James goes to WWE and she can't even get Magnus in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, that's got to tell you something.
They're probably saying, hey, can you send her to developmental? Well, yeah, NXT, no, Evolve. Oh, so.
I think even Gabe was like, nope, I don't want
I
that
wouldn't
guy.
take him. Yeah. Would not take him.
Gabe's like, he's too green. Get rid of him. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, on the positive note, I'm happy for, Matt Hardy on that whole award thing, because I completely agree with him. That gimmick is the best, and it probably still is. It probably should win this next year as well. So,
Damn.
but that is the Observer Awards. We hope you all enjoyed that. That was kind of fun. I really had a good time with that one. That's kind of interesting that a lot of our awards from this year kind of matched up with theirs. So it makes me feel good about what we did this year.
And I should have noted that anybody that actually has a subscription to the Observer, you can send in your ballot during the voting period. So that's why there's so many voters there. It's not like the Hall of Fame where Dave does have his certain people that get to vote for it. This is more of a, here, you get to vote in this because you subscribed the whole year or whatever. So.
Oh, there you go. So, all right. Well, guys, we have one thing left to do, and we'll kind of compact, kind of both things for Ring of Honor, because, of course, we're going to be talking the Ring of Honor TV tapings, but we're also going to be talking about the 15th anniversary show as well. We'll be previewing that tonight, too, as well. So we will be right back with some Ring of Honor talk.
All righty, here we go. All right, guys.
All right, so we open Ring of Honor this week with Jay Lethal, Bobby Fish, and the Briscoes running down the Bullet Club, who they will wrestle in an 8-man tag in the main event. And then we move on to the Rebellion taking on the Kingdom for the World 6-man titles. During the match, Rhett Titus tweaks his knee and ends up getting hauled out. Leo Rush comes in, takes his place, comes in like a house of fire, then turns around and hits a big cutter on Kenny King. Kingdom triple powerbomb the Rebellion. 1, 2, 3, they retain. This match is largely fine and even downright entertaining, especially the beginning where everybody is sort of carbon copying each other based on who's in the ring together. So like Red and TK Orion are sort of carbon copies of each other. You have Vinny and Caprice as their counterparts, and then Taven and Kenny as their counterparts. And you get a lot of little fun interaction there. I was skeptical initially because this is obviously two heel teams, and whenever Rhett takes the injury, you see the Rebellion sort of immediately take the babyface role, and then out comes Leo to sort of solidify that. And then Leo turns on him, and I'm left confused by the whole situation because Leo has been pretty ho-hum, not ho-hum, but like you're a typical babyface, right? Like working against the odds, showing off that, he has the size disadvantage in every match he's in, all these other things, and then they sort of have him act a little dickish here. I don't know exactly how I felt about that, but it keeps that storyline moving. What'd you guys think? Because I'm still perplexed.
Yeah, you know what? The first thought process I had watching this match, well, of course, I agree with you on the heel thing. I kind of thought it was funny that you had two heel teams facing off. But the other thing was that beginning where they had, the guys that kind of paralleled each other, and I thought to myself, is Colt Cabana on creative? Is he writing in creative? I think he is, because this is too funny. It was almost more funny than it was anything else. And you get that out of the way, and you get into the meat of this, and I kind of honestly enjoyed Red Titus. Not that the fact that he got injured, but I like the way that they kind of threw this in there. With Leo Rush makes his way down to the ring and gets involved, because you at this point think, oh look, he's joining the Rebellion. They've wanted him for so long. They've been basically trying to convert Leo Rush into the Rebellion. And you think, man, what happened? Now you're thinking that it's a whole different thing, and then next thing you know, nope, it's not. He was playing him the entire time. So I think it's funny to see the rebellion in the babyface role, first of all. But not only that, now I want to know more about Leo Rush. Like, what's going on? What's this all about? It was very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hate it, though, Paul. I mean, to be honest with you, sure, it didn't make a lot of sense, but in a way it kind of made sense. So you get away with it. And you think the Kingdom really need to hold those trio titles, at least in my point of view, for a little while longer. So I was totally fine with them holding on to him. This actually wasn't bad. Like you said, a little head scratchy here.
I love the Kingdom as the champions. They're extremely polished together. They've really grown as an act. I think they have a charisma about them that makes them entertaining, even though they're the bad guys. They're still hilarious to watch. And they're all pretty fine wrestlers. I don't think very highly of any, but TK and Taven are certainly very good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hate what they did with Leo. I was just confused, and maybe that just sort of left me wanting a little more, maybe a little follow-up from Leo and a backstage promo or something like that, just to sort of help clear the air and keep the lines clear. I mean, they haven't really done a lot with Leo on his end. It's always been the Rebellion approaching him, hey, be with us. Well, now Leo has very clearly told them, hey, man, GTFO.
Yep. There you go.
Jay White cuts a promo backstage. He wants a rematch with Jay Briscoe to sort of try to avenge the draws that they had in the past, specifically back in November, I believe it was when it aired. In Philly, they'll meet again in 2 weeks. Briscoe gets a little rebuttal promo. It's fine work. Jay's is a little ho-hum. Briscoe is his usual Briscoe self. And then we get the top prospect tournament match between Raphael King and Brian Malonis. I felt like they went with the wrong way here. Malonis gets the win with this sudden stop senton thing. He looked really generic to me. He didn't overly impress me. Then the match isn't overly long. It's only 4 or 5 minutes tops. But Raphael King, he had a look. He had a whole gimmick package already around him, ready to go, and he just entertained me more.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where you kind of think to yourself, are they doing this for the fact that they have a plan in place for Raphael to move on in a different way and do some things? Because I thought maybe the way this finished out, it was about the fact that they had a matchup they wanted to see put in place, and that would, of course, look a little bit better with Malonis. So I don't know. I mean, I love his nickname, by the way, or the Kingpin. I like that. I think it works for him because he's giant like that, and he's got that bald look and all that. So it works for him, and I think that's really what they were aiming for here. But Raphael, I think he still has an opportunity in the future. It's kind of sad he got knocked out in the first round here, but these top prospects, we've seen them before. Just because they don't win, in the actual tournament doesn't mean that they can't make some improvements and maybe get into this roster. So I can't say I'm heartbroken, but I think you're right on this, though. I think Raphael is the more athletic guy. He's the guy that could probably entertain you in other ways, but I have a feeling that Malonis is just kind of a guy moving on to the next round to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Malonis is winning this either, especially after Skylar's performance last week, who... him and Kurt Stallion, who I'm a huge fan of, who hopefully we'll see next week. But Skylar really, I think he impressed a lot of people that match last week. His opponent was good too, whose name I'm forgetting off the top of my head right now. But Malonis here definitely does not have that same caveat. I should mention he's a big dude. He's tall, 400 pounds. Like he's a bigger guy. So maybe they wanted to protect that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean he's a bowling ball. He's
yeah,
so huge.
Yeah.
And I think it's really what it is. Like I said before, I really feel like he's got the presence, but I think in the end, this is going to make another guy look really good beating him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then we get to the main event: Bullet Club, Cody Rhodes, Adam Cole, and the Young Bucks take on Team ROH, Jay Lethal, Bobby Fish, and the Briscoes. you get everything pretty much as advertised here. Cody gets his big stuff. The Bucks get their big stuff. Adam Cole gets their big stuff. Jay Lethal gets the big stuff. Bobby Fish gets the big stuff. Briscoes get the big stuff. About 3/4 of the way through the match, Lethal and Bobby Fish break off and end up in a brawl. They will have a match at the 15th anniversary show. It's being billed as a top contenders match, so I'm assuming whoever wins gets the next ROH title shot too. But the Bullet Club do win, as obviously, you know, the Briscoes are outmanned and outgunned. Jay eats a whole bunch of finishers that sort of takes him out, and then Mark eats the Melter Driver for the victory for the Bullet Club. And then we get to the big post-match shenanigans. Adam Cole is celebrating by himself in the ring. Christopher Daniels comes down. He whispers in Adam's ear that, hey, man, I'm here. I'm coming for you, whatever. We get a big brawl. Daniels beats him down. He pulls out some clippers and shears. He says he's going to shave Cole's head. And then Kazarian comes down. Looks like he's going to help Daniels hold Cole in place. But it's a ploy, as Kazarian reveals to Adam Cole that he is wearing a Bullet Club t-shirt. He stops Daniels from doing the barber job, and then pretty much plays distraction while the rest of the Bullet Club sneaks back in. Daniels eats a couple super kicks, and that's all she wrote.
I just really quickly, I'll touch on the match. I thought it was, a fairly well done match here. I mean, lots of great talent in the ring. They did their job. It's a shame that you did have the breakdown, but hey, the Bullet Club have to come out of this smell like roses. That's how they did it, right? They had some dissension amongst the Ring of Honor guys, so that gave the Bullet Club the advantage, and they did take care of business to win. This stuff with Kazarian and Christopher Daniels is interesting because I'll be honest with you, Paul, and you may have read spoilers or you may have seen this coming, 10 weeks ago. I don't know. But I really didn't think they were going in the direction of Kazarian being a part of the Bullet Club. Mm-hmm. I just never really thought that being put in play. I could see him being disappointed in Daniels, leaving Daniels, and doing something else, but I never saw him joining the Bullet Club. So that was something that adds to the story and makes it, I think, a little bit more compelling because now you've got Christopher Daniels on his own. And he has no longer, in a situation where he has backup or anybody to take up for him. So now his journey became even harder. But I think he may like that, and I think we're going to see some really interesting things. But yeah, that was a big shock at the end of the show. I felt like it had some impact on me because of the fact that that's all I kept thinking about was, man, what's going to happen next? Because this guy's got to be emotional. He lost his best friend, a tag team partner for years and years and years, and now that's over. And now he's already dealing with the stress of trying to become the world champion.
I don't think anybody really saw this coming because I think they pulled the trigger on this a hair too soon. And I'm only saying that because I think it would have been far more interesting. Daniels already has a huge mountain to climb in the Bullet Club, right? I mean, Cole and the Bucks are BFF. Cody's hanging around more often now. He seems to be pretty tight with them. You have Paige. There's already a tall hill to climb there for Daniels alone. And Kazarian sort of maybe helps even it a tiny bit, but it's not, a ton, right? I feel like having Daniels win the championship, because I'm still sure that's the plan as I give away what our next segment's going to be anyways. But Daniels wins the championship. I think it would have been much more interesting for Kazarian to turn afterwards just because he can sort of feel like he's being left out. He wants a turn. He wants to be the guy that Daniels is sort of overlooking and feels, like he's on the outside now and that he doesn't want to be that. So he joins the Bullet Club, who is obviously the biggest thing going in Ring of Honor right now. It is the centerfold of all their booking. And maybe do it then. But this certainly does help stack the deck even more so for the Bullet Club. So I just feel like this would have been better used later instead of before. But this does give you a great reason to watch the 15th anniversary show, which is what this show is the go home.
Yeah, and you're right. It does give you that intrigue and want to go and buy and purchase the 15th anniversary show. But I think I'm going to agree with you on the Kazarian being, that whole, thing with Kazarian being too early. I really do. And it's just, to me, I think it was an impact, but it needed to be more impactful later on. It needed to be something special, like where, Kazarian, can look Daniels in the eye as, he's celebrating or he's bragging on himself. And then, hey, then you change your ways. Then you show him that you're actually someone he didn't think he was. So, or he, whatever. So we'll see. I mean, to me, this was a pretty decent episode of Ring of Honor to kind of lead us into 15th anniversary.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we're going to go over the card and do a little bit of predicting here. The card is sort of sparse. One of the matches has been thrown into a huge amount of disarray because of what happened at Manhattan Mayhem. So we'll go ahead and open with Jay Lethal taking on Bobby Fish. Like I said, it's being billed as a top contenders match, so I'm assuming the winner will get a world title shot down the road. Obviously, Dalton, I think, has the next one after this at the April 1st show. But Lethal or Fish, who you got here, Gary? Uh-oh.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My microphone, I had adjusted. I'm sorry. I put you on mute. But
I was much more worried something terrible happened on my end.
No, I'm so sorry. No, my microphone switched and I was breathing into it and I didn't want anybody else to hear that. But what was I saying? I was saying about the match between Jay Lethal and Bobby Fish here, right?
Yes.
So this is one that, I'm really kind of interested in, and for a lot of reasons, but I think Bobby Fish had his opportunity. And, it could be very well his right to go on and get another shot, but I think Jay Lethal is that guy. I think, he's been on the back burner for a little while now, right? We've kind of seen him kind of take that stage, that backstage kind of, I'm going to hang out backstage for a few of these episodes and I'll come out for a few and things like that. He's not really been around. And I think it's finally time for him to get back involved in that. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. So I kind of feel like Jay Lethal needs to win this match, and I think he will from my perspective.
I think Jay Lethal wins here, too. I would not underestimate Bobby winning after some Cody interference, just because I don't know. Obviously, that is still going on. That hasn't been settled in any way, shape, or form. So, but I agree with you. Bobby's had a turn. Granted, I don't know what you do with Bobby if he loses here, because it's not like he's primed for another feud. So that could be another reason to take a victory in Bobby's column. But Jay's the fresher matchup, so I'm going to agree with you. I think Lethal wins this too. Next up, ROH World 6-man tag team titles on the line. The Kingdom defends against Dalton Castle and the Boys. I'm actually kind of looking forward to this. This could be a really fun match.
I think you're right. I think it's going to have a lot of comedy. I think there's going to be lots of different things involved. But I don't know how solid of a match it'll be. I think the Boys are decent, wrestlers. But I'm not sold that we're going to get a knockdown, drag out, just amazing match. Okay. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be more about some of the other little things, the comedy, the other crazy situations that they can be put in. And at the end of the day, the Kingdom are going to win this. I think the Kingdom are, I hate to say this, but they're a little bit above the Boys. It's maybe not above Dalton Castle, but they're a little bit above the Boys, and so I think that they're going to win this. I think they'll retain.
Yeah, I don't see a reason to move the belts off the Kingdom yet either. I think there's a lot to look forward in this, though, not only because, Dalton Castle is wonderful in everything that he does, but Ring of Honor still hasn't let the Boys really cut loose and show what they can do. I've managed to catch the Boys at a couple of indie shows before, and they're really very talented wrestlers. I mean, they're your sort of usual indie high flyers right now, but they have a lot of upside to them. I think they have that same charisma Dalton does too. So I'm really interested to see if this is the moment in the match where they let those guys break out and really show you what they can do. So I would at least look forward to that much. But, I don't think they win the belts here either, especially with Dalton challenging for the world title down the road at Supercard of Honor. So,
and not only that, we also have to remember the fact that, Colt Cabana has been a major thorn in the Dalton Castle and the Boys situation. So I think that's going to be a problem, too. I could totally see Colt Cabana causing them, some mayhem and to lose this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, too. I forgot to bring that up, but... Colt Cabana, that story isn't over yet either. So that's another way for them to go here. But we're going to move on. So originally this was for the tag team titles, but that has since become a wash because the Hardys won the championship Saturday on Manhattan Mayhem. They beat the Young Bucks sort of in an impromptu match. So now it's still booked. It's a Vegas street fight between Ravishing Vice and the Young Bucks. I've seen some things that have the Hardys added with the tag team titles on the line. The Hardys are guaranteed to be there. Whether they wrestle or not, I don't know. But this match will still go down. So Young Bucks or Ravishing Vice. Who you got here, Gary?
Man, so now we don't even, if we're not including the Hardys, I've got to go with the Young Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that right now they're on a roll and they're doing the thing. Sure, they lost the belts to the Hardys. You got to say that. That is something that maybe you say, well, they're not on a roll because they just lost. But I still think it takes too much away from them. I think that, they had a great match for what it was worth. But now, when they move on against Ravishing Vice, I think it would make them look really, really bad if they lost against Ravishing Vice, even though Ravishing Vice is amazing. God, I love Ravishing Vice. But for me, I'm going to go with the Young Bucks.
I'm going to agree with you here, too. Ravishing Vice, they're not full-time here. They always look great in their appearances, though. So I'm really this match, obviously, is going to be really good. Plus, street fight rules. The Young Bucks usually like to break out some crazy stuff. When it comes to that. So, I can't imagine Rocky and Beretta are going to want to get upstaged by these guys either. If the Hardys do... Go ahead.
No. Tell me about the Hardys and I'll tell you what I think about the other.
If the Hardys are involved in this and it's a three-way, then obviously the Hardys are going to retain because there's no way they're going to break up that match for Supercard of Honor with the Hardys and the Young Bucks going 2-on-2 straight up for the belt. So...
We couldn't agree more on that. So, I mean, if they are involved, I think it'll be a little bit more entertaining, personally, just because we love all three of these tag teams, and it would make it that much more interesting. Now, if it's just like you're mentioning here, Ravishing Vice versus the Young Bucks, I think the suck it counter will be put on this because honestly, when they get in these matches where it's kind of the hardcore rules type thing. That's when the suck it meter starts to take place. So,
yeah, not to mention we're going to super kicks galore across both teams too.
Oh yeah, oof.
Ring of Honor World Title or World TV Title, excuse me, is also on the line. Marty Scurll defends against Lio Rush. Rush beat Scurll in a match 2-3 weeks ago, something like that, to earn this on one of the lesser shows that haven't been televised or anything like that. So. Something to look for. Marty Scurll wrestles exceedingly well against Will Ospreay. I can only imagine him and Rush are going to put on a great match too. And boy, I don't know if you move the belt from Scurll or not at this point. Marty seems pretty untouchable so far, and I do think you have to be careful with Lio here. But I think Marty retains, Gary.
I think we're going to agree on this, and it's not because Lio Rush doesn't deserve it. Because if you ask me, if there's anybody on this entire Ring of Honor roster that deserves a shot at this title, it's Lio Rush.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anybody else that can hold this title and make it as important as Marty Scurll has, it's Lio Rush.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the perfect storm you can get into. Not only is it believable that Lio Rush is involved in this and Marty Scurll and him are going to have a drop-down, amazing match, because I really feel that way. If they don't, trust me, Paul, I'm going to be very disappointed. My expectations for this match are very, very high. I think these guys are going to bring the house down.
Mm-hmm.
But, saying all that, I think that Scurll, sure, he's had the belt for kind of a lengthy time, but not lengthy enough. If we've been talking about this maybe 6 months of him holding... 8 months of him holding on to it, then you're going to have me saying, yeah, Scurll could lose. But it hasn't been that long, so Scroll's going to win.
Yeah, I think Scurll only won the belt in November, if I'm remembering correctly. November 20th. So, yeah, it's just north of 100 days. So I'm with you. I don't think Scurll loses it yet. And I feel, this title run might be them grooming him to challenge for the world title, which is also on the line, as Adam Cole defends against Christopher Daniels. Shenanigans to abound for sure. I'm sure this match will still be very good, but it's with Adam Cole's future up in the air. I think Ring of Honor is either going to play it safe or play to the story, because Christopher Daniels is due for that big win right here, and it doesn't have to be a terribly long reign, but to etch Christopher Daniels on that name, the one thing he really hasn't done yet in his career, and somewhat surprisingly, he's never been world champion here for Ring of Honor, and I think it's time.
I think it's time as well. I really do, and people listen to the intro tonight. They heard, a very passionate Christopher Daniels as they listened to that promo he cut on Adam Cole, and I think it's almost so important for Adam Cole to look good here, but still lose to a Christopher Daniels who has everything to gain and really not a lot to lose. Because think about it, I mean, he has his legacy on the line. I got to say that's a lot to lose. But the one thing I'll say is he's lost everything else. He's lost his tag team partner. He's kind of, lost his opportunity to have a lot more time in the wrestling business. So this is what he's got to do, and he's got to do it now. And I think that's going to be the motivation that puts Christopher Daniels in that situation where he does win. I got two ways of looking at it, Paul, and it's kind of weird. I mean, for the fact that Christopher Daniels loses this match, you got the storyline of, that was my last chance, I'm done, right into the sunset. Or he wins and proves that he's able to do it and, goes on until he does lose it. But I think the option A is weak, and I think option A also doesn't leave a lot of meat on the bones for anything other spectacular to happen with Christopher Daniels. What's he going to do? Is he going to still stay with the feud? And that's not going to happen. So I got Christopher Daniels winning. To me, it seems like the best scenario.
Yeah, I mean, if they opt to go in the opposite direction and let Cole retain and hold on to it for a little bit longer, his contract is up in April. I believe his next title defense after all this is Supercard of Honor against Dalton Castle. And if he does sign with WWE, you could be left in a lurch to where you either have to crown Dalton, or maybe that's the plan the entire time. But if Daniels doesn't win, and this is, in fact, his last chance to be ROH World Champion, then you shutter that off into his feud with Kazarian, and either Bully Ray is up or Jay Lethal, or however they're going to go about trying to accomplish all this. They might have to get it done a lot sooner than later, because I don't know if Cole stays, to be honest with you. New Japan seems to be gearing up for it. I think ROH should do the same, and I think they will. I think Daniels wins here. There's a lot of other stuff I'm sure that's going to go down on the card. That's only 5 matches. I know the Briscoes are advertised, of course. You're going to have some other guys on this show, too. So the rest of the card's going to be a surprise, but we'll just have to wait and see what goes down.
Yeah, and I think it'll be an excellent time just for the 5 matches we just talked about. There's a lot of great things going on right there alone. So to me, I'm very much looking forward to seeing this show. I really, really am, and I hope a lot of other people are. And of course, I'm sure next week we'll be talking about those results of this show and giving you a lot of our ideas and kind of feelings on how everything shook out. So be looking forward to that.
Plus, we'll have a triple header with New Japan Cup on Saturday and Sunday. So.
Oh, man. Wow. So we got lots of great stuff coming your way, everyone. Man, that's awesome. I forgot about New Japan Cup. That's going to be really, really fun. So we, you guys can be looking forward to these new shows that we got coming out here.
Busy Monday. Busy Monday.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Talk about a long episode, but we'll see. Maybe the news will be a little light, and we'll get a lot more, that stuff. So we'll see. But yeah, just everybody want to let everybody know that we'll be having a great show coming your way on this Thursday night. Of course, available on Friday morning on the download. That'll be part 2 of episode 237. Of course, on that show, we'll be talking a lot about some of the other news topics that'll be happening this week and some of the big things to pop up here. Plus, we'll also be talking about Impact and the new leadership. That's right, it takes place this week, so you don't want to miss us talking about all the new things happening in Impact Wrestling. But before we get out of here, I'll also let you know, go check out W2Mnet.com. Now, that's the place where you can go find all these shows that we do. Of course, all the review shows we have, the pay-per-view review shows, and along with these great episodes that we do, the regular episodes of Wrestling to the Max. Also on there, you can find other great content like video games, also other wrestling content. Plus, we also do entertainment, and we have a big surprise. Go over there and check out the entertainment section with lots of great stuff over there too. So you don't want to miss a minute of the action Also, maybe once again you want to subscribe to us, go subscribe to us either through Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network. Like I said, get you all that great content coming your way. Well, we appreciate you all for joining us once again tonight. So for myself, for Sean and Paul, if you're not living life to the max,
Not living life at all.
You know it.
Please.
later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.